Hey guys, welcome back to the Same G Bard podcast. And we are continuing with our conversation on disruptive business models. So, what Bart and I had been discussing a little bit earlier was we've talked about a number of different topics. AI, we've also talked about Airbnb, we've also talked about Tesla. All of these are disruptive business models. And we're going to continue on with that same conversation today.
For sure. Now, we're not going to spend a huge amount of time on this. Let's set our timer for about 10 minutes.
Sure.
Guys, we're going to quickly, set your timer, please. So here's the thing, guys. We just finished talking about Airbnb. Airbnb, awesome business model. It provides an experience that a lot of people would want. I mean, there are some amazing Airbnb properties out there, but I believe in legislation because certain things can, be dangerously disruptive. I believe in adding, flavor to the economy, adding a new experience. You could rent an entire house short term. You can rent a very unique property short term, but what happens when it starts disrupting the market to where you can't find anywhere to live long term? And this is what happened in New York. So anyway, we're going to move on from that. We've already talked about that. We're going to get into really quickly YouTube. We're going to take a trip down memory lane. YouTube, it started off with people just posting videos and stuff, and for fun, blah blah blah. And then it got kind of serious once people started making news channels, and those news channels started to get more views than the mainstream. That's when the big boys started to take notice. Now, you guys have probably noticed that now every news station you can think of is on YouTube. You remember, Seiji, you remember those days when none of those stations were on YouTube?
Yep,
Remember
I
when it
do.
was remember when it was only the cable model, right? You had to buy cable to get some of these, or you had to have network, cable, basically, because they got rid of the analog signal. So you had to have some sort of paid subscription to watch some of this programming. Now look at it. NBC News, the entire broadcast is on YouTube. CNN also puts several broadcasts on YouTube. And who owns YouTube?
Google.
Google. Google. Google now has the power to censor CNN. Google has the power to throttle any news agency they want that's on their platform. Think about that. That's power.
Well, we
So,
moved into a totally different era in terms of news, and this is why it's so disruptive. What you're talking about with YouTube is disruptive to everything because you can create your own narrative, your own news by controlling or starting these channels that are YouTube. It's like uh,
exactly.
you and I are creating news, and we could
Mm-hmm.
completely misrepresent truth,
Mm-hmm.
and we have the same power to manipulate and to create propaganda that ABC, NBC, and CBS has had in the past.
And the big boys were not just the news agencies, but the government. A lot
Well,
of people don't realize this. Let me just state this. Americans don't really understand this. And I want more Americans to pick up on this. When you look at communist China, there everyone in communist China knows that the state sponsored media is propaganda. Everyone knows that. In America, we have a more clever model. The government controls these private corporations on what they can and can't talk about. So they have partnerships behind the scenes. So people actually believe that they're getting the full news. This is a much more clever model of basically controlling the narrative. If you guys might remember, Hillary Clinton famously said, "We are." What does she say? We are losing control um, of the information war. Do you remember when she said that? She was in a
Um,
hearing.
I would probably disagree with her, but if she's looking at it in terms of whether you're a Republican liar or a Democrat liar, they are losing control of the information war. And part of the problem that we have in our country now is all truth is relative, and everything,
Mhm.
to quote our former loudmouth president, everything is fake news. So
Right.
there is no real news.
Hmm.
What we believe can be a conspiracy to one person, and it's the absolute truth to another person.
That's right.
Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, all of these people are the news. They
Yeah,
create the news.
they are creating news.
Zuckerberg and Facebook or Google, YouTube, everyone is their own news channel.
Right. And the most and the thing is that the powers that be, the people that we voted into office who are actively insider trading, they made it legal to insider trade. Do these sound like good people to you? People who insider trade, but when you do it, you go to jail? These people are not who you think they are. If they would make laws for themselves to be able to insider trade, what what do you think they're going to do with the news that they control through the back channels? Of course they're going to control it. And this is why they started to use the big tech companies to do just that. So this was a, not to go too deep into it, but um this YouTube was a very disruptive model, but they had to rein it back in. They still control it. And maybe we can get into that a little bit another time, and on how they do it. But this
Well, we
business
can tie
model
it
of
back
the
because if you
Mhm,
remember during another one of our podcasts on Amazon, we talked about how not Amazon, at I think it was YouTube as well as Facebook and Twitter, how the government actually placed
mhm.
former government CIA, FBI agents at those
I- in
entered
in Twitter,
businesses.
yeah,
Yeah.
they were in Twitter. They found them at Twitter, and they were like, why is the FBI here? They're the
So then
nation's
what you can
police."
say is, well, it's not us. The government doesn't censor. It's private businesses, and there are no censorship laws that apply
Right.
to them. And this is
Exactly.
one of the really critical things that people
Mhm,
need to be more aware of. If you are an American, if you're a person living on planet Earth, you need to understand that this
mhm.
situation is coming for you. So we can't look and point at China and North Korea
Right.
and Venezuela and say, oh, look, they're the ones that are being controlled. We are
Mhm.
also being controlled,
In a more
and
clever
we,
way.
in,
That's
in
it.
a more clever, diabolical way.
Yeah.
We have to
Very
be
diabolical.
vigilant. And this
Mhm.
is where we have to be able to look through and find truth. We have to, and then realize, look, in this search for truth, I personally don't
Mhm.
believe that you can ever get to the bottom because these things are so well hidden that
Very well hidden.
it's really designed to tear apart our society. This is what's happening
It's
because
designed mhm.
yeah, the news is designed, whether it's YouTube or whether it's CBS, it's designed to create chaos and destruction. And that's what
To
we see.
right, and then to bring order from that. All right, let's move on. We're gonna get into look at Amazon. We talked about Amazon in another podcast, and how it's a disruptive model. What would you say Amazon is disrupting or has disrupted?
Well, look at all of the retail in these city centers. So we're looking on one side, we're saying, well, landlords are destroying the city centers because there's no more long-term housing.
Hmm.
Amazon is doing the same thing and has been doing the same thing in terms of destroying retail. Like, for
Retail,
example,
box
You've
stores
Got
and stuff.
Mail, that movie. It's all about the big bookstore,
Hmm.
Barnes and Noble, coming in and knocking out the small mom and pop bookstore. The used bookstore is gone.
And now Amazon came in and did it to them.
And
So, I mean,
Airbnb is doing that to big hotels, and now you have a backlash. Uber
right,
did that to taxis. There
right.
is a correlation, and this is why this
What's our
topic of
mhm,
business disruption is so important. Because
It
if you can look and pick
Mhm.
out who the disruptors of the future are and be able to invest in those,
Yeah,
then you're going to be in a really good situation.
a really good situation. But let me ask you this, and for our audience, comment below. What do you think about this? And give us a like while you're at it. We'd really appreciate it. But think about this: what do all these businesses have in common? YouTube, Amazon, Uber. What do they all have in common? They are all big tech.
Big
All
tech
big tech.
data collection. And you know what? I'll tell you
Big
this,
tech. All
there
big
might be
tech.
something that Bart and I absolutely don't know because we definitely don't know. We don't know a lot of stuff. But
Uh,
if there is some disruption that we should know about, please share
mhm.
with us and with everyone else because we would love to do some research into it. And maybe we can all figure something else out, figure another piece of the
Yeah.
puzzle.
Get us in the comments. What's interesting is a lot of people have looked at how the banks have been weaponized against us, right? In terms of disruptive business models. Banks started out as places that would hold your money for you, and they've quickly been co-opted uh, for other reasons besides holding money, especially some of the major players. And they've been weaponized. Everything's been weaponized, guys. You guys need to understand how power works, how the power structure works. Banks are now doing things like holding people's money. They're going to be very integral in the upcoming digital currency. They're getting rid of ATMs now. They're supporting. So you got to look at how disruptive business models work. Now, something really interesting that I saw just recently online, a gentleman was teaching people how to start their own bank as a collective and to, it's sort of within the same logical vein as Bitcoin. Uh, we got to get away from the man. We got to, they're destroying the dollar. This is what we have to do to survive. Let's have our own banks. We're not going to take this digital currency that's coming, this digital dollar. So people are constantly looking at ways. This is where the genesis of Bitcoin comes from. It was disruptive tech, a disruptive business model, which was supposed to run counter to, or what's the term I'm looking for? It operates the same way gold is supposed to operate when cash is when the value of cash goes down, it has an inverse relationship with the dollar. Bitcoin was supposed to go up, but guess what? Who controls the electricity? Who controls the power grid? They do.
Mhm.
Without power, there is no Bitcoin. you can
Exactly.
you can dream all you want about subverting their technology and but
Just unplug the computer.
just unplug the computer. Now you have no money and you have no books. You have nothing. You have no YouTube. Without electricity, without power, without oil, without any of this stuff, you have no YouTube, no Amazon, no Uber, no taxis. But think about a time before these disruptive models popped in. Without electricity, we could still go to the store and use cash to buy something, right? We don't need electricity for that. We could have used the cash to go down to the corner store. Hey, I need some, I need to, do some shopping and come home with our stuff, and we'd be fine. But now everything is contingent on big tech. Bitcoin is a very interesting iteration of big tech. It's very complicated, encryption process that relies on technology. And guess what? Government's got an answer for that too. Have you heard about Google's? Have you heard about the supercomputer that they have? That it's what's the name of those computers? There's a type of computer, a new type of computer that they have that can crack the technology that Bitcoin's based on. Yeah,
Yeah,
you'll never win, guys. You'll never win. Anyway, any final comments, Seiji, before we move on out?
no,
All right.
but definitely we would love to hear if you guys know of any upcoming disruptive business models, please share.
Let us know
You
so we
know,
can invest.
exactly. Thank you.
All right. Before we go, let me just really quickly, since we have it on screen, the dating apps. There was some talk. I'll talk about this for about 30 seconds. There's some talk about how dating apps are disrupting. Dating apps are actually disrupting clubs. No, yeah, dating apps are disrupting clubs. Clubs used to be a place where people would go to meet. Now they meet on the dating app. Okay. And then from there, they go somewhere else, typically, probably not the club, maybe to a restaurant. So dating apps are also disrupting certain things. They're changing the way of life. And once again, big tech. Okay. That is the common denominator in all of these massively disruptive business models. Sage, any final comments? I'll ask you one more time. Maybe you have a
No,
final comment after
that's
this.
it.
Nothing. All right, guys. Thanks once again for tuning in to the Sagey Bard podcast. We are honored to have you here with us. Definitely like, subscribe, become a subscriber so you guys can get to know us and send us topics. Let us know what you want us to talk about next. And as always, guys, have a great weekend. Hope you enjoyed your Veterans Day, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.